Okay, so this is the first Autocad tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm going to look at the screen and navigating around the menus. When you load up Autocad, and you'll find it in the start bar under Design Technology, under Autodesk, and you're looking for an icon that looks like this. It'll take a little while to load up. When it does load up, you can get a little splash screen here which says Open Drawing, not an educational product drawing. Just click Continue on that. You'll then get a secondary splash screen, and you can remove that by just clicking in the cross there. You'll then find your Autocad, and what you're mostly looking at is the top view. This is not set to any particular size because in Autocad the object can be as big as you want. It's not constricted to size at all anyway. You've got three menus that are particularly important. The first one is the home menu here, which contains drawing tools and ways to trim, mirror, delete, stretch or edit the things that you've drawn, as well as this box here, which is the layer box, is also really important. But you'll also find that you've got in there the view menu. This is also really important because it allows you to manipulate different views. If you click on the arrow here, you can move from top, bottom, left, right, front, back, and then the isometric views, which gives you three-dimensional views of the object, as well as wireframe and different rendering options there. The one that's missing as standard that you also want to have on there is the 3D Tools menu. You can get this by just right-clicking in the black bar here, going to Show Tabs, and clicking on 3D Tools. That will pull up 3D Tools, and this contains a whole series of tools you can use to take any 2D object and make it three-dimensional. So let's start by just doing a very simple drawing. I'm going to use the line command here up in the top corner, and you'll notice in the command line box here that it tells me that it wants me to specify the first point. You do that just by clicking with the left mouse button. You'll also notice that my line has got some snaps built in. It's snapping to certain angles. The reason it's doing this is because in these boxes down below here, which are really important, you will find that this one, polar tracking, is on. If I turn that off, it'll go grey. You'll now find that it draws much more freely. In this case, I want to have that constraint in there, so I'm drawing more accurately, so I'm going to turn it on. With polar tracking on, I'm now back to drawing in straight lines. In this case, I want to draw the line a certain distance. All I do is throw the line up in the direction I want to go, and then type in my distance. Distances in Autocad are always in millimeters, so I'm just going to turn this and move this, make this line 400 millimeters. It does it automatically for me. If I throw it in the next direction and type 400 again and press return, and go down, type 400, press return, bring it back to the beginning and type 400, press return, I've now got a square, which is now 400 millimeters in all sides. What I'm going to do is then move to my view command so I can see this, and I'm going to swap to an isometric view. Now you'll notice this puts it into three-dimensional view. The next thing you need to know is you can move around and zoom in and out slightly just using the mouse itself. So if you use the mouse wheel and move the mouse wheel backwards and forwards, so I'm pulling it towards me, I'll zoom out. If I push away from me, move the wheel away from me, I can zoom right in. If I press the mouse wheel down, so I use it as a third button, I can now pan and move around. So they're quite useful tools. I've got my object there. What I now want to do is make this three-dimensional. So if I click onto my 3D tools and click on the extrude command, you'll notice down the bottom it's asking what objects I want to extrude. So I'm just going to select these four. You can do that by clicking on them, or you can drag a box around all of them, or you can even drag a box through them, providing you start at the bottom and cut through it moving up to the top. Okay, that selects them. Whenever you've selected them, press return to move on to the next part of the command. The next part of the command says here it wants to know how tall to make it, and again you can type in a value. So I'm going to make these 400 millimeters tall, and I've now got my 400 millimeter tall series of lines. If I go into my view command, I can now, at the moment we're on wireframe, click this to something more like conceptual, which I can even click on a range of different options here. So I click on realistic, it will try and render it out and make it more realistic. I tend to like to work in either 2D wireframe or conceptual views though. If you click on the orbit button here and left click and move the mouse around, you can... So you'll notice that we haven't got a solid cube because actually all we've done is draw four lines and made them a certain height. This isn't a particularly good way of modelling. It's certainly no use for putting things out in a 3D printer, so we need to look at ways of modelling in solid modelling. This is something I'm going to look at in the next tutorial, but let's just recap what we've learned so far. We've looked at our three main menu bars, so we've got the home view with our lines, editing the lines, and the layer box. We've got the 3D Tools tab, which allows you to extrude, expand, and generally manipulate anything you draw in 2D, as well as the View tab, allowing you to flip between views and change the style of rendering. The other thing to remember is that AutoCAD is quite odd in that when you draw a line or do a command, generally speaking, it likes you to press return to end a command. So always remember command, commit to the command, press return to finish the command. That's it for this tutorial. We'll move on to three-dimensional solid modelling in the next tutorial.